Hello and welcome to the video. In this video I'd like to take a look at this thing here. This is the ZOHD Orbit Wing. Now we've looked at two of its baby brothers, the ZOHD Dart and the ZOHD Nano Talon, and I need to say a very big thank you to everybody that got in touch and said, oh brilliant, do the Orbit Wing, complete the trilogy, because I've been pretty impressed with this. And in this video what I'd like to do is show you how it comes, go through the specs, do the unboxing and build. The build takes all of about 20 seconds, and then talk a little bit about how it flies, some of the good things and some of the things you need to be aware of. Now, for those of you that are interested in the smaller wings, I'll put links here in the video so you can go and have a look at them. The Nano Talon is brilliant. You need the centre of gravity a little bit further back in the frame than it says in the wings, in my opinion. And my firm favourite has been the ZOHD Dart, that little forward swept fixed wing thing that is held together by magnets. Super portable, amazingly fun to fly, and very, very efficient. So you get an awful long flight time with a little battery. Now this is quite a bit bigger. Hopefully in this image you can see how much bigger it is. I'll put a link down below to Banggood. You can get them from lots of different places. It's not particularly expensive. It's a 900mm wingspan and the length of the body is about 422mm. Now it does seem to be very lightweight. The bottom part is the kind of dark foam, the top part is the light foam, but as you see when I take it out of the box, it's kind of got this internal rib structure, so it appears to have lots of air inside, which means it is very lightweight and again very, very efficient to fly, so it means you can get another long flight time with a battery that you choose. It comes with the inbuilt stabilizer, just like the other two planes that we've already had a look at. And again, the stabilizer has the same kind of PPM little hiccups. So I've used an X8R to set this up. So let's go through the unboxing experience. And again, the box itself is an awful lot smaller than you expect for a wing like this. A 900mm wing is normally going to come in quite a big box. Now my box got a little bit squashed on the way over, so I was a little bit worried that it wasn't going to survive intact and I might have a problem with it. But when I opened it up, I'm pleased to say that the way it's packaged, there's loads of room inside the box. So even though one corner got a little bit smushed and the front got squashed as well, it didn't affect the model at all. Now once you've got the top off, then the first thing you come across are your two wing pieces. Again, the servos are not in the wing, just like the Nano Talon. So all of the electronics are in the middle of the wing, a physical connection at the back that connects into the back of the frame and does all the pieces for you. Again, the hinges on this are really nicely done. On mine, I just had to put a little bit of paper in that. It looks like it's been pushed in a little bit. It was catching the elevon. The other wing is identical, but obviously a mirror image, catching slightly again. So all I did was just put a little bit of paper in there overnight and it kind of straightened out that tail edge. Then we have a couple of additional covers for the front FPV equipment. So it'll support GoPro, Mobius, traditional FPV cameras and things as well, but we'll talk about that in a second. We have the spar to reinforce the wings at the bottom of the box, but let me get the main piece out of the bag. Here is the main body with an air intake at the front. The main piece is held on with a couple of very strong magnets at the back, and once you pull that off, there's absolutely oodles of room in here for all your pieces. So you get your little bracket for the front, so you can put another camera on there if you want to. You've got the prop that comes with it, just the one. It's that kind of prop that has a thread in the middle. Then we have the same kind of speed controller that seems to be in all the other models. We have a couple of servos pre-installed going out into the connector at the back. We have loads of room at the front in this one for a battery. I'm going to use a 1300 3S pack, and then the front comes off for you to replace all the different noses. Just comes off on magnets, but it does mean you've got loads of different choices depending on what kind of camera you want to use in the nose of this thing. One of the things I noticed was that the internals for this and the direction the camera is facing is about 10 degrees down. So I'm impressed with the thought about the angle of incidence here, so that when you're flying and you're flying straight and level, even though the wing is actually tilted slightly up, you're going to be looking pretty much straight out at the horizon. That's a cute touch. The manual itself is very similar to the other manuals with the other models that we've already looked at. this really could do with a little bit updating and a little bit more verbose instruction. Tells you how to put it all together. Again, don't do any mixing in your radio for a wing. Just set it up. In fact, what I'll do is, let me just put a couple of images here of how I've got it set up on my radio here. Don't do any cleverness. The flight controller stabilizer is going to do all of that mixing for you. Then to push the wings on is really straightforward. Just line them up. Make sure that you've got that back servo connector in line with the piece inside the body. That's the only thing you just have to be a little bit careful of. And once you've pushed it home, that clip does a really good job of keeping it in place, and I found that launching this by throwing it from a wingtip is perfectly fine. It doesn't disengage and pop the wing off in flight, although I'll show you in a second, one of the nasty crashes did pop the wings off, so it's great that energy is absorbed like that rather than damaging the actual model itself. So that's it altogether. It takes that long. So it is possible, if you really wanted to take this apart, if you're going to transport it, to put it in a backpack similar to the other two models, but in this case there's no magnets holding it onto the wing. Now let's talk a little bit about the other electronics that I put in here. I thought long and hard about how I wanted to do the FPV, so I've taken my little Runcam Split Mini here and made this little case for it. I've popped the case on Thingiverse, so if you want to download it, it's available on there, and put one of my favorite little FPV transmitters. These are the Elite video transmitters from Hobby King. I put them in loads of different stuff. They're pretty bulletproof, and this little package is going to go in the nose of the model, and with the battery that I'm using, it's providing pretty good center of gravity. So let's talk a little bit about the centre of gravity. I used a couple of setups here and was playing around to see how much weight you could get in the nose and how much room you had. So I found that with this Turnigy action camera and my 1300 3S battery that I've been flying it with, it's about 171 grams. That gives perfect centre of gravity. Also with the setup that I'm actually going to show the flying footage with, here's that little Runcam setup with the Elite VTX on the backpack, and that's going to slide in the front of the model with the battery that I'm using. Again, it's a zippy compact 1300 3S 25C pack. It's about 155 grams, and with that video transmitter right in the nose, it's giving pretty good center of gravity too. So if you're looking at the battery, camera and video transmitter combo, then you want to be looking kind of 155 170 grams in total. If you wanted to use a bigger battery, then you'd have to think about potentially mounting your video transmitter as far back in the canopy as you can, just to offset that weight up in the nose. So the final steps here were to install the X8R into the model. Again, it's a bit overkill, an X8R. I would have loved the PPM to work with this. I hope that ZOHD are going to update the stabilizers that they have inside these things to not only support PPM for things like FrSky receivers, but also S-Bus. That would be amazing. But the model that I've created for this with the X8R is really basic. It's just got the main controls, and I played around with the throws a little bit. I'd recommend for the throws that you have about 75% travel on your aileron control on the radio and only about 50% travel on your elevator. The reason for that is that I found the elevator had so much authority. The control surfaces on this wing are blooming huge, and because of its very lightweight design with those big air pockets and ribs in the wing, it's very maneuverable and very quick too. So you find if you have your elevator a little bit too high, a very small movement on the radio will immediately have you pulling a loop. So let's talk about what this thing is like to fly. Again, the stabilizer provides you with 3 flight controls. One is a launch beginner mode, and that will provide auto level, and as you increase the throttle, it will also raise the elevator so that the nose is pulled up. That's fantastic for launches, but you have to be careful with your throttle. If you're a little bit aggressive in that mode, it'll just pull its nose up and climb for the clouds. The second one is stabilizer on, which will help the model overcome any external uncommanded movement, and then you can turn the stabilizer off. And to be honest, I didn't use that mode at all. I was just flying in kind of beginner auto level mode to launch this thing, and once it was in the air, then I was just turning the stabilizer off and flying around. If I needed a breather, then I was popping on the auto level mode. Now, I'm not flying FPV. This is actually footage from my very first maiden flight. The inset is from the Runcam Split Mini. It's in the nose, and you'll see that you have to give it quite a lot of throttle before you throw it, because if you do a bad throw, the auto level won't save your bacon, it will bounce into the ground. And as you can see here, all that happened was the wings just popped out to absorb some of that energy, snap them back into the body, and you're good to go again. So next time I gave it a load of throttle, threw it up at 45 degrees, and away it went. So as soon as it was in the air, I turned it off the beginner mode and turned it into the 3-axis stabilizer mode, and then it started to behave exactly like an awful lot of the other 900 wings, things like the Texumos and other wings that I've played with in the past. So a couple of comments on how this thing's flying. Loads and loads of authority on the elevator. Again, I'd dial that back to about 50% throws or 50% input, just to make that nice and controllable. About 75% aileron gives you nice control, and hopefully from the inset footage you can see with the stabilizer on as I'm zooming around, it's pretty good actually. It's doing a nice job of keeping everything solid. In fact, it's a little bit calmer in terms of the twitchiness of the FPV footage than things like the ZOHD Dart, but then you'd expect that. This is a much bigger wing with a much bigger air surface, and it's a little bit heavier too. Huge envelope of speed. It will absolutely poodle along at 20% throttle, and in fact I found the auto level mode was very good at that kind of level. Giving it too much throttle would cause those elevators to rise, the nose to pull up, and for it to climb aggressively. So if you wanted to just poodle around, I'd kind of set it 25-30% throttle, put the auto level beginner mode on, and then you'll just be able to fly around very, very happily indeed without having to worry about getting into trouble. In stabilization mode, it just flies like a beautiful wing. But the nice thing is we've got all of that room inside for all of the FPV gear. The last cool fact I'll mention is that I'm getting well over 32 minutes flight time on that battery running my video transmitter and the Runcam split as well. I imagine if I took the Runcam split and the video transmitter off, I'd probably be getting 38, maybe 39 minutes on that little battery. So you don't need a huge battery inside this thing for it to fly for a long time. So in summary, what do I think? Again, it's another really nice model from ZOHD. They do seem to do this really well. It's just that little stabilizer that can occasionally be frustrating because the PPM implementation doesn't support things like FrSky receivers very well. There's loads of room inside this for all your technology, so you don't have to be creative about where you want to put everything. If you've got your FPV camera and FPV receiver and a battery that's going to physically fit inside, you can probably move it all around to get your center of gravity about right. I do like the fact you have all of those different fronts on. The only comment I'd make there is there doesn't appear to be a front that's actually designed for a traditional HS1177 style camera, so you're going to have to figure something out if you want to put one of those in the nose. I've learnt setting up a few of these ZOHD wing flying devices now is that you don't need to spend hours and hours setting it up if you're not going to fly it on anything but the 6-axis beginner launch mode or the 3-axis stabilization mode. The plane will kind of take care of itself, and the center of gravity marks underneath the body do appear to be absolutely spot on this time, so make sure that when you are sorting your center of gravity out that they're spot on with those marks. Only other couple of comments again is watch out for that threaded prop if you break it, and there is a chance you could break it. I haven't yet, touch wood, on this one here, but it's the same as the one that they put on the Nano Talon. I actually like the one that was on the Dart that just used a traditional kind of nut, and then any prop of the right size you can just get and put on. But be aware of that. I'd probably order a spare one if you're going to order one of these. And again, watch the throws. Ideally, you want kind of 75-80% of your throw for an aileron, and dial back the elevator to kind of 50-60%, and that's going to help you with that twitchiness on the elevator control. And it would be lovely if ZOHD not only fixed the stabilizer to support a wider amount of PPM and S-bus, but kind of put a little bit of effort into the manual or put some online videos or something on to help set it up, because it isn't too tricky. You just kind of follow the connections that are on the manual and plug it into your receiver, but it would be nice if they had a little bit more detail for those who are new to setting these kind of models up. So another question everyone's going to ask, which out of these three would you prefer? And for me, I still really love the ZOHD Dart. The way it flies, the little portable nature of it, and how it handles is amazing. The Orbit Wing is probably my second favourite, and that is only because it's physically an awful lot bigger, so it's a little bit less simple to kind of put in a backpack or to keep in the back of the car, so that when you get a chance you can FPV around your local flying area. But it's a very close first and second position with these two. If you're a wing person and you're looking for a wing that you can put all your FPV gear in and try fixed wing FPV, this is definitely something to consider. If you found that video useful or like the content, then please hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you want to go the extra step, you can become a Patreon of the Painless 360 channel and help provide support for what I do here. All the videos created here are put into playlists, so if you're interested in a particular topic, have a look at the playlist, and they all are organised in there to make them easier to use. If you're not sure if there's a video for your particular problem or topic you want to know more about, then add Painless 360 to the Google search term that you're interested in, and that should find the video, article or content about the particular thing that you're interested in having a look at.